Hey guys, and welcome back to week number 2 of October. Now, it is the second week of October, but we're actually starting a new series today. It is called, as you see behind me, In Charge. It's all about authority and good authority versus bad authority and how we look at it. We're going to be spending the next 3 weeks on this series. I'll be doing this week, and then Josh next week, and then me again for the last week. Every week, either me or Josh will do a little intro to the video, then we'll send you into the main meat and potatoes teaching part of the video, and then we'll be back here, talk about the video, ask a few questions, and then pray before we send you off. All right, guys, I'll head you into the teaching video, and then I will see you here after. Enjoy.
Hi friends, I'm Stuart, and I love stories. This is a true story from my life. When I was in 7th grade science class, Miss Jenkins' class, I love Miss Jenkins. She's so sweet. You have a Miss Jenkins in your life. Just a sweet teacher, always kind, you love being in her class, and we were dissecting frogs. Me, and I have my lab partner, Wes, he's with me, and Miss Jenkins left the room. Well, that's like a 7th grade playground. Like, she's gonna leave the room and we can do whatever we want to with this frog. So we decide that I'm gonna take the piece of green spearmint gum out of my mouth. I'm going to roll it into a ball to appear somewhat like an organ in this frog's body. We put it into the frog that we're dissecting so that we can try and trick Miss Jenkins when she comes back into class. Funny idea, right? Miss Jenkins comes back into class. She's walking around from place to place. Miss Jenkins, could you tell us what this is? We think this is gonna be funny. You know, this is a silly idea, innocent. Miss Jenkins comes over. Not only is she kind and sweet, she also happens to be really smart. She takes the little tweezer things, picks it up, smells it, smells like spearmint, discovers us immediately. We fail the dissection, then she lets our parents know. We have to explain to our parents what we did when she left the room, and all of a sudden we're like, oh my goodness, this just would have been better if she never left the room. The other people in the class must have been thinking, you guys, why would you do that? That was so silly. That was dumb. Anyway, have you ever been in a situation like that where it just would have been better to have an authority around? Or what about this? When you were a kid getting ready to play a game at recess with a bunch of other kids, what's one of the first things you had to do? You had to put somebody in charge. Somehow you had to decide who would be the team captains or who would be the referee or who would make the rules. And sometimes choosing the person in charge was easy. It was a group decision. But other times there were those kids who made themselves the boss. You know the ones. Maybe they really knew how to play the game, so it made sense. Or maybe they were just confident enough or big enough or tough enough so that no one would challenge their little kid leadership. You know what I mean? But no matter how someone got to be the leader, the reality is that for better or worse, somebody had to be in charge. And that brings me to my question for today. What comes to mind when you hear the word authority? When you think about somebody being in charge of you, how do you feel? I think if we're honest, some of you would say you really hate it. You think having somebody in charge of you or telling you what to do is just annoying. You feel like you can make decisions for yourself, so having somebody else do it is really frustrating. Or maybe you struggle with authority because you've only ever had bad experiences with it. The people in charge in your life are mean. They've used their authority to hurt you or yell at you or treat you unfairly. And even though we know that not every person in charge is like that, it makes you question almost every authority figure you deal with in life. Or maybe you think authority figures aren't worth following because they're kind of silly. Like the people that you see in charge in movies or TV, they're always the ones being made fun of, and they're never totally with it. They're never really sure what's going on. So why would you follow people like that? Or maybe the authority figures in your life feel more like friends than people in charge of you. And that makes things a little bit confusing. Like one minute they're cracking jokes and making things fun and being super cool. And then the next minute they're bossing you around or making you follow the rules. And that's just confusing, right? Maybe you don't really mind having somebody in charge of you. Sure, you don't always love the rules, but you aren't fighting against them either. It almost makes things easier to have someone like a parent or teacher or coach tell you what to do. No matter what you feel about the people in charge of your life, the reality is that authority is not only something we're all gonna have to deal with in life, it's something we all need. Without it, the world would be complete and total chaos. I mean, imagine what it would be like if there were no rules for driving. No traffic lights, no speed limits, no stop signs. It would make being on the road a completely different and horrifying experience. For a second, you might think that that would be really fun until it wasn't. Or what if your school had no rules? You show up when you wanted, you leave when you wanted, you eat all the food in the teacher's lounge, skip out on the mile run in PE class, and never have to do your homework. I mean, that may sound awesome. In fact, it kind of does sound awesome. But if you really play it out, the reality is it would be insanity. You'd get to the end of your school career and barely be able to string together a math problem. Not good news for your future, am I right? Y'all, my point is this: authority has its place in our world. It has a purpose. In fact, it's part of the way that God designed things to be. And because of that, it's something we have to learn to live with. We have to learn how to deal with the people in charge of us, even when it's hard, even when it's frustrating, even when you feel like they don't deserve to be in charge, even when we're not sure that they're handling their authority the right way. We have to learn to deal with authority. With so many different ideas of what authority is and isn't supposed to be, I think the best thing we can do is go back to the beginning. You guys ever play that game where like if you spin it and you put your finger on it, like that's where you have to go? And you're like, oh no, right in the middle of the North Atlantic Ocean. When God created the world, it was created with authority in mind. God made the stars and the sun and the moon, the water and the mountains, the flowers and animals, and God had authority over all of that creation. God was in charge. But then God made humans. Adam and Eve were created, and they were given authority over all the earth. That means that as humans, we're in charge of taking care of the things that God made on earth. Being in charge was part of the plan for us. And for thousands of years after that, people used their authority in all kinds of different ways. Some people were really great leaders, and some weren't. Some people really treated the people and things they were in charge of well, and some people didn't. Some people followed the law and some didn't. All throughout history, humans have been struggling to know what it looks like to use their authority in a good way. Then Jesus came to earth, and this whole authority thing got a little bit more complicated. At the time, religious leaders had a lot of authority. They were the people in charge, but when Jesus came in, he lived like he had a lot of authority too. In fact, he even went so far as to say it. Take a look at what one of his followers, a guy named Matthew, recalled. Jesus came and told his disciples, "I have been given all authority in heaven and on earth." Okay, so this is a pretty simple sentence, but it has a really big impact on our lives today. Jesus wasn't just talking here, he was telling the truth. When he came to earth, Jesus came with the ultimate authority. He had the ability to do literally anything he wanted to do with the authority God had given him. And a lot of the religious leaders probably thought Jesus would use his authority to do things like make more rules or punish people who didn't follow the law, or only be kind to the people who believed in him. But what did Jesus actually do with that authority? Turns out he did a lot of great things that nobody expected. He healed the sick. He treated women as equals. He forgave people's sins. He welcomed people who others turned away. He told everyone that they were invited to believe in and follow God. Jesus never used his authority to make people feel hurt or less than him. Instead, he used it to make their lives better. And I think what that can teach each of us is this: Jesus is the example of good authority, and that changes everything. Because no matter what our experience with authority has been in our lives, we can look to Jesus to understand what authority is truly supposed to look like. When we see what he did and how he lived, we get a glimpse at what it looks like when someone uses their authority for good. Jesus is the example of good authority. He's the example of authority we can trust and follow and even do our best to model. And when we're not sure how the people in charge in our lives are handling their authority, we can look to Jesus to be reminded of what real, good authority can be like. When it comes to how we understand authority, knowing Jesus changes everything. Jesus is the example of good authority. So, how does this help us when it comes to dealing with the people in charge of our lives right now? How does knowing Jesus is the example of good authority help us with authority today? It shows us what good authority looks like for us, and I think it starts by doing two things. First, think about what you know about Jesus. Think about the things you know about the way he lived, the things he did, and the way he treated people. If you're not sure about some of this, your small group would be a great place to start figuring it out. Have a conversation with them today about some of the things that you know about Jesus. Maybe even make a list together of the things that make him a good authority figure, somebody worth following. Then, look for that same good in the authority figures in your life. Your teachers, your parents, your guardians, your coaches, your older siblings, your babysitter, your small group leader, your school resource officer, your guidance counselor. Who are the people in charge of you? Maybe you love the way they use their authority, and maybe you don't. Either way, they're in charge. And one thing that can help you follow them is to look for the good in the way that they're leading. Look for the way they're leading like Jesus. No, they won't be healing the sick or raising people from the dead, and they're definitely not going to be perfect like Jesus was, but the authority figures in your life might be using kind words or giving you a second chance. They might be helping you at school or extending forgiveness when you mess up. Maybe they're treating everyone fairly and with respect. If you have someone in charge of your life right now, look for the positive things about the way they're using their authority. Let me stop here and say that there's a difference between authority you just don't want to deal with and authority that's being abused. Like when your mom asks you to take out the trash and that makes you mad, she's not bad authority, you just feel annoyed at what she's trying to ask you to do. But when someone is using their authority to abuse you or to harm you or to hurt you or treat you in a way that makes you feel like you have no power to say no, that's different. Remember, Jesus used his authority for good. And when someone is using their authority over you to do anything that isn't good, you need to speak up. Start that conversation with your group leader today. Your leaders want to use the authority they have to help you get the support that you need. So remember, Jesus is the example of good authority. And the truth is, we're all trying to figure this authority thing out, including me. That's why it's important for us to talk about it with people we can trust. That's why we have groups. Your group is a great place where you can talk about whatever you're going through and whatever you're thinking about. So I want to encourage you to talk about all of your thoughts and experiences with authority with your group today.
Hey guys, and welcome back. I really hope you enjoyed the video. I know sometimes it can be really hard to deal with authority, especially when that authority isn't so great. A couple things we can do to look for good authority though is number one, recognize how Jesus lived, how he treated people and what he did in these positions of authority. And number two is looking for those same good qualities in the people who have positions of authority in our lives, parents, teachers, small group leaders, and seeing how Jesus as an example can be translated into these people of authority in your life. All right, guys, now before I pray and sign you off, I just want to ask one question. What are some good characteristics of a good authority in your life? So maybe you take some good characteristics from a parent or a teacher, or maybe you're even your small group leader. What are some characteristics, good characteristics, of an authority figure in your life? Okay guys, I'm just going to pray before I send you all off. I'm going to bow my head and fold my hands, but you guys can do whatever you need to focus on the prayer. Dear Lord, I thank you that you are such an amazing authority figure and such an amazing example of an authority figure. I pray that as we go out into our week, that we will be able to recognize and respect those good authority figures that we do have in our lives. And I would like to pray for the people who maybe don't have a great authority figure in their life. I pray that we will be able to remember this message and be able to look to you as an authority figure and as a really, really great authority figure. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, guys, that is it for this week. Josh will be here next week, and I'll be here the week after that to finish off the series. See you later, guys.